Okay, so get ready because we are diving into the life of Frederick II.
Holy Roman Emperor.
Yes, Holy Roman Emperor, trying to figure out like how he got this nickname, Stupor Mundi, Wonder of the World,
Yeah.
and at the same time, some people thought he was like the Antichrist.
Right?
So, big contradictions there. And we're going to be looking at this YouTube video featuring Alessandro Barbero.
Great historian.
Yes, and he's got a panel of experts with him,
Mm-hmm.
and they're kind of digging into Frederick II.
They do a great job.
So this is a guy who lived like 800 years ago,
I know. It's amazing.
but still causing debate.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what is it about him?
It's really about his legacy. You know, why do we still talk about him? Was he really ahead of his time, like this great visionary?
Right.
Or, you know, was there something darker there? Was he really this wonder of the world?
Well, and his story starts out pretty dramatic, right?
Yeah, well, for sure.
I mean, born in a public square.
Not your average bird.
No, not your average birth. So his mother, Constance of Hauteville, in 12th century Italy,
Oh.
she decided to give birth right in the middle of a public square. You know, there are all these people saying that she wasn't really pregnant, and she was like, fine, I'll show you.
So, I mean, talk about making an entrance, right?
Absolutely, a statement.
Statement.
Yeah, and then, to make it even better, he later called his birthplace Jezi, my Bethlehem.
Oh, wow.
So he's really leaning into this whole, chosen one narrative.
Oh, for sure. Destined for greatness.
Right from the start.
And, I mean, he's got the lineage to back it up.
Yeah, you can't forget that lineage.
I mean, grandson of Frederick Barbarossa, Holy Roman Emperor,
wow.
and then the Norman King of Sicily, Roger II.
It's a lot to live up to.
Can you imagine that pressure?
No. I mean, the chroniclers called him Pure Apulier, so the boy from Puglia, that's southern Italy. They also called him the hammer of the world, even Caesar. And it's really interesting because, even to the Germans, he was kind of seen as this, boy from the south. He was exotic.
Kind of like an outsider?
Yeah, like almost an outsider, even though he was going to be their emperor.
That is fascinating. So this brings us to Sicily.
Yes.
This really unique place where Frederick II starts to, make his mark.
Mm-hmm.
The experts in the video called it his laboratory. So why was Sicily so important to understanding him?
Well, you got to remember that Sicily was kind of like a crossroads.
Yeah.
It was Arab, Greek, Jewish, Christian, all these cultures just bumping up against each other.
Wow.
And that really influenced Frederick. It shaped his whole view of the world, how he thought about governing, and unlike the Holy Roman Empire, which was always kind of chaotic,
Yeah.
Sicily had a much more stable political structure, so he could really try out new ideas, push the boundaries a little.
So it's like he's got this safe space to experiment.
Totally. It's the Middle Ages, but he's almost like a Renaissance man, right? And dropped into this time.
I like that.
Yeah.
So give me some concrete examples. What kind of experiments was he running?
Okay, so for one thing, he was a huge patron of the Salerno Medical School.
Okay.
And they were renowned for incorporating Arabic medical knowledge, which, by the way, a lot of people in Europe considered heresy.
Yeah. I can see how that would be controversial.
Very controversial. And then you have the Sicilian School of Poetry that flourishes under his rule. Fun fact, that's where we get the sonnet.
What?
Yeah, the sonnet form originates in his court.
I had no idea.
It's pretty cool. So on the one hand, you have the science that the church is side-eyeing.
Right.
And then on the other hand, he's fostering an art form that we still use today.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a mix.
Total mix.
What else?
Well, he's also this amazing builder. He commissions these stunning architectural projects like Castel del Monte, which is this crazy octagonal castle that to this day people are still trying to decode all the symbolism.
Wow.
So he's intellectually curious, he's open to different cultures, he's a patron of the arts and sciences, and he's not afraid to be different, to challenge the norms.
But we can't forget, this is the age of the Crusades.
Oh, yeah.
So how does this Crusader king, how does he reconcile these seemingly progressive ideals with the religious fervor of the time?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because it's the 13th century, the Crusades are raging.
Yeah.
And the Pope is like, oh, you Christian kings, you got to take back Jerusalem from Muslim rule.
Yeah.
And Frederick, he keeps putting it off, delaying his promised crusade.
Was he stalling? Like, actively trying to avoid conflict?
Some people definitely thought so. And then in 1229, he does something totally shocking.
Okay.
He negotiates a peace treaty with the Egyptian Sultan Al-Kamil.
Okay.
And he gets Jerusalem back without any fighting.
He just, like, negotiated?
Negotiated.
No crusading armies, no epic battles.
No.
I mean, that's got to be unheard of at this time.
Totally radical. And let me tell you, the Pope was not happy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
He saw it as a complete betrayal of Christendom and excommunicated Frederick.
Wow.
I mean, this wasn't just like a little disagreement. This was a full-on clash of worldviews.
Yeah.
And it really gets to the heart of the debate about Frederick. Was he genuinely trying to create peace between Christianity and Islam?
Yeah.
Or was he, a heretic undermining everything the church stood for?
I mean, it sounds like he was walking this really fine line.
Oh, absolutely.
Between two worlds, defying expectations left and right. And, for some people, that defiance crossed over into something much darker, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It wasn't just about being different.
No.
For some people, it was about being dangerous, like his tolerance towards Muslims and Jews.
Right.
I mean, that was seen as evidence of something, way worse than just being a little eccentric.
Yeah, people started to whisper.
Uh-oh.
And let's not forget, like, the whole Antichrist rumors.
Oh, right.
That's a pretty big deal.
That's something you just shrug off, yeah.
Not at all, especially at that time.
Yeah.
When people were really into apocalyptic prophecies.
Like, what was that guy's name?
Abbot Joachim of Fior.
Yes.
He predicted that the Antichrist would show up around 1260.
And guess who's, like, at the peak of his power then?
Exactly. Bad timing for Frederick.
So you've got these fears swirling around him.
Yeah.
But wasn't he also, like, doing things that were genuinely progressive?
Oh, for sure.
Even by, like, today's standards.
Absolutely. I mean, think about his laws granting equal rights to Christians, Muslims, and Jews.
Wow.
That's radical for medieval Europe.
Yeah, unheard of.
Unheard of. So, was he this enlightened ruler fostering diversity? Or was he secretly the devil in disguise, like his critics claimed?
I mean, it seems like every time we think we've got Frederick figured out,
yeah,
another contradiction pops up. So how can someone be so enlightened and then be accused of such wickedness at the same time?
You've got to remember that history is messy.
Okay.
It's rarely black and white.
Right.
And Frederick, he embodies that complexity.
Yeah, he does.
More than maybe any other ruler of his time.
And this is just the beginning.
I know, right?
His story is already mind-blowing, and we haven't even gotten to, like, what happened next.
No, there's so much more.
Did this, like, empire he built, this empire of, tolerance and innovation, did it last?
That's the question.
Yeah.
We'll have to find out.
I mean, it's almost like Shakespearean,
Yeah.
This dazzling rise to power, pushing the boundaries, challenging everything, and then
it crumbles.
Yeah, it all falls apart. But before we get, too lost in the what ifs,
right?
Let's zoom in on Frederick II himself.
Okay.
Like, what do we know about his personality from the sources? What drove this guy? Because it seems like he embodies both, like, progress and brutality.
Yeah, well, the sources definitely paint a picture of someone driven by his intellect, like immense curiosity. He was a scholar, a poet, fluent in like multiple languages, and really into philosophy, science, the natural world. He even wrote a treatise on birds. Can you believe that?
Not your average medieval kingly pastime.
No, not at all.
But it sounds like it wasn't just like a hobby for him.
No.
He genuinely enjoyed this stuff.
Oh, yeah. He loved to learn. And you've got to remember, like, at this time, most European rulers couldn't even read.
Yeah.
So Frederick really stood out. I mean, he was corresponding with scholars across the Islamic world, like soaking up knowledge. He surrounded himself with these intellectuals, poets, scientists. His court was this, like, vibrant hub of learning and the arts.
Oh, right. The Sicilian School of Poetry. Did the sources talk about any specific poets or works that would kind of give us like a glimpse into life at his court?
Yeah, they highlighted Jacopo de Lentini,
okay,
who is credited with inventing the sonnet.
Wow, so this is like
the sonnet form that we still use today.
Yeah.
Born in the court of Frederick II.
I mean, that's incredible.
It is.
It really shows like how influential his court was, fostering creativity and innovation.
Totally.
And it wasn't just poetry and scholarship, right?
No, not at all.
I mean, his architectural achievements, like Castel del Monte, that speaks to like another side of his personality.
For sure. Castel del Monte, I mean, talk about a mystery.
Yeah.
It's this unique octagonal shape, the astronomical alignments, the blend of different architectural styles. Like, everyone in the video was just captivated by it.
I can see why it sounds like a medieval mystery.
Oh, yeah.
Worthy of his own deep dive.
Totally.
Maybe we should add that to the list.
We should.
But for now, let's stick with Frederick.
Okay.
So this fascination with symbolism, with like pushing boundaries in his buildings.
Yeah.
Does that like reflect something deeper about, his ambitions, his desire to leave a legacy?
I think so. It wasn't just about practicality. It was about making a statement.
Okay.
Showcasing his power, his intellect. I mean, Castel del Monte, with its blend of like European and Islamic elements, it's almost like a physical representation of his vision for a more integrated world.
A unified world.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, I mean, that just makes the collapse of his empire after his death all the more tragic, right?
Yeah.
Like, his successors couldn't maintain that balance, could they?
No, unfortunately not. I mean, the papacy saw him as a threat, right? And as soon as he was gone, they seized the opportunity to, like, dismantle everything he built. And, of course, the French king, he was happy to, expand his influence in Italy. So it was just, like, the perfect storm, really, a perfect storm of political maneuvering and ambition.
And poor Conrad.
Oh, yeah.
His grandson, just a pawn in all of this.
Yeah, his execution really marked the end, of the Hohenstaufen dynasty, which had ruled the Holy Roman Empire for like over a century. And it's just this brutal reminder of how fragile power can be, even for someone who seemed destined for greatness.
It's almost like Frederick's story is like a cautionary tale. Like even the most brilliant, the most innovative leaders, they can be brought down by the forces of history.
Yeah.
So where does that leave us? What are like the key takeaways from this deep dive into Frederick II?
Well, I think one of the most important things is that Frederick he defies categorization.
Okay.
He was a man of contradictions, brilliant but ruthless, a visionary but also a pragmatist, a champion of cultural exchange who, also waged war.
Right.
He's a product of his time.
Yeah.
But he also seemed to like transcend it.
He really does challenge our assumptions about medieval Europe, doesn't he? Like, we tend to think of it as this like dark age.
Right, like it was just all doom and gloom.
Yeah, but Frederick,
It complicates that.
he shows us it wasn't so simple. So, I mean, was he Stupor Mundi?
Yeah.
The wonder of the world?
Huh?
Or was there this, this darker side like the Antichrist?
I mean, the answer isn't easy.
Yeah.
He was both.
Yeah.
And maybe even more than those labels can contain.
That's what's so great about history, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's full of these fascinating figures who, keep us guessing.
Centuries later.
Yeah, and Frederick II is a perfect example.
He really is.
A life full of drama and intrigue.
And impact.
Yeah, and impact. And we've covered so much.
I know, right?
I mean, from his birth, in the public square.
It's a good one.
Yeah. To his controversial peace treaty with the Sultan.
And the arts, the sciences, the excommunication.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to take in.
It is.
But what's amazing is that we've only just like scratched the surface.
Exactly.
There's so much more to explore.
So much more.
And that's what's so exciting about these deep dives, right?
Yeah.
It sparks that curiosity and makes us want to learn more. So with all this said, what does it all mean for us, the listeners?
That's a good question.
Yeah, why should we care about this medieval emperor and his complicated legacy just 800 years later?
I think it's because Frederick's story, it challenges us to really think about the past.
Okay.
And how it connects to the present.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, for one thing, it reminds us that progress isn't always a straight line.
Yeah.
Like Frederick, he embodies both the best and the worst of his time, a visionary pushing for religious tolerance and intellectual exchange,
Right.
but also someone who could be ruthless, who engaged in these power struggles that caused a lot of suffering.
So it's not as easy as saying like he was a good guy,
Right.
Or he was a bad guy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
complicated.
And that's important, I think, to acknowledge because it forces us to grapple with the messy realities of history.
To avoid oversimplifying things.
And it also makes us like think about how we judge historical figures, right? Like,
Yeah.
can we really hold people from the past to our own moral standards?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
No easy answers there, but I think it's important to consider the context, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what were the choices they had to make given the circumstances?
So we can appreciate Frederick's achievements
Yeah.
while also acknowledging, that uh, there were some darker aspects to his rule.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
And maybe, just maybe, we can learn from his mistakes, and try to do better in our own time.
I like that. History can be a great teacher, if we're willing to listen.
So I'm convinced Frederick II, he's worth studying, even if it means confronting, some of those uncomfortable truths about the past. But where do we go from here?
Wow.
The video mentioned a few books, right?
Yeah, they did. Professor Barbera recommended Ernst Kantorowicz's biography, which is called Frederick II, Holy Roman Emperor. It's a classic.
Okay.
But he did caution that it's maybe a little romanticized.
Okay.
So if you want something more balanced, more comprehensive, he suggested Frederick II, Emperor, Entrepreneur, Intellectual by Hubert Hoban.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
We'll be sure to include those in the show notes.
Great.
Before we wrap up, I'm curious,
Yeah.
what stood out to you the most from all of this? Like, what's the one thing you'll be thinking about, even after we finish recording?
Honestly, it's that image of Frederick in Jerusalem that really gets me. Like, here he is, excommunicated, standing in the holiest city.
Right.
And he got it, not through force, but diplomacy.
Yeah,
Negotiation. I mean, it really shows the contradictions of his life,
Yeah.
Was he trying to bring cultures together? Like, was he a unifier?
Yeah.
Or was it all just, a power move?
Yeah.
I don't think we can ever know for sure.
Right.
And that's part of what makes him so fascinating, I guess.
It really does make you think about what could have been.
Yeah.
If things had been different. If the clash of ideologies hadn't been so intense.
Yeah. Like, how do you balance idealism with being pragmatic?
Yeah.
How do you push for progress when you also have to deal with, the realities of power?
That's a big question.
It is. And, I think that's why Frederick's story is still relevant today.
Okay.
Like, why should we care about this medieval emperor?
Right.
It's because he reminds us that that history isn't just like a bunch of names and dates. It's about choices,
right,
about consequences, about the impact that individuals can have.
Yeah, even centuries later.
And Frederick, he challenged everything people thought they knew.
Yeah.
And in doing so, he challenges us to think differently.
To look beyond the easy answers.
Yeah, to look beyond the labels. He forces us to confront those uncomfortable truths about power,
Yeah.
about ambition and, about what humans are capable of, both good and bad.
Yeah, and it's a reminder that, progress.
Yeah.
It's not always a straight line.
It's messy. It's messy. There are going to be setbacks,
Yeah.
Contradictions.
And even when things are tough, we got to keep striving for a better world.
That's it.
We covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, but it feels like we've only just, started to understand Frederick II.
And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
There's always more to learn.
Or
he wasn't just a man,
Yeah.
He was an idea, a symbol of this struggle for progress, for understanding, for a world where differences can coexist.
So, Stuper Mundi.
Yeah.
Or Antichrist.
I think the answer's somewhere in between in the the messiness of his life.
In the complexities.
Yeah, the complexities. And maybe that's the real lesson here.
Okay.
Embrace the gray areas.
Yeah.
Don't try to oversimplify things.
Right.
Remember that the past, like the present, it's full of contradiction.
And possibilities.
Yeah, exactly.
So for our listeners, the journey doesn't end here.
Keep going.
Yeah, we encourage you to check out the sources, explore the books that Professor Barbero recommended.
Yes.
And come to your own conclusions.
Exactly.
About this captivating figure who continues to fascinate us, centuries later.
He does.
So keep questioning, keep exploring.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that history Like life is best understood as a journey.
Not a destination.
Yes. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Frederick II.
It's been a pleasure.
And until next time, keep exploring.